Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of the Loki spoilers review. You know what that means. We're about to break down some madness going on. I am the Trash Snell goes down. Trash Snell. Kirklin, you don't even know what that's all about, do you? You have no idea about this Batman going down controversy, do you? Huh? We'll fill you in on the news.
That's not what Kirklin does.
I've been in the woods. Just came back for Loki.
Yeah.
No
Kirkland's
idea
not
what's
it.
going on.
Kirkland's a hero. He doesn't do that. Yes, and we're joined by the returning, the awake
Taylor Field. He is Guardian.
No, I was setting up Kirkland, like, because he returned, like, because he. Never mind. You.
I thought you set him up and then
he's returning. Yeah.
I thought you set Kirkland up and then you passed it on.
I did set Kirkland up,
and then you passed it on.
So why'd you take it? No.
You set him up twice. It sounded like.
I am the superior Kirkland Patzer. Excited to be on my first episode of Loki.
Definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, just go down in the description below. You can find everything. Hopefully soon, Apple subscriptions is going live, and they're figuring all that out. So more details soon, but might be another fun way to listen to ad-free and just write directly on your Apple podcast feed. But if not, head over to Patreon, because Patreon, you get the ad-free feed, but you also get exclusive episodes, you get early, you get After 9 perks, you get to pick a movie for us to review. We got to review 2 movies this month. I won't reveal them now, but we have 2 new patrons, so that's going to be fun. Go back. We just did a whole bunch of coverage E3, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Xbox, Summer Games Fest, Nintendo. That's all live on the feed by the time you're hearing this. And we'll be reviewing Loki every week. We got bunch of movies coming up, Fast Furious, Black Widow soon, so it's going to be a good time. Taylor, where can they find all those on the interwebs?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us via your internet connection. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVersecast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook.
Exactly. So like I said, description has the video, audio feeds, and if you really like what we do, please, very please, go give us a written review on Apple Podcasts. That helps a lot. Gives a nice 5 stars. Anything else, we don't need it. But now's the time. Episode 2. So what we do is we start on spoilers just to give our overall thoughts, and then we'll do an ad break, and then again the spoilers. So Kirkland Patzer, you were not here last week, but you weathered the storm now. What have you thought about the show so far? You can give like a brief overview of what you thought episode 1.
The briefs.
Yes, a brief episode 1 thoughts, and then what do you think about this week's episode?
Yeah, so I watched episode 1 just basically right before this episode, so it's nice and fresh in my mind. And I got to say, I just absolutely loved it. I think it was just such a killer first episode. Just set the tone of what the show is going to be and where we're going, and just got me really excited moving forward. Not even just this show, but like with other MCU stuff moving forward. Loved all the character stuff. I love Owen Wilson. He's hilarious. I feel like he's a type of casting that I wouldn't like fit with the MCU, but overall, I'm so happy it's a thing. And overall, I just really, really like the show. So this episode, again, just carrying on. I love just like the aesthetic of the TVA, place, I guess, just in general. It's that 70s tone or whatever era that is. I just really, really like it. And in episode 2, I feel like it's just getting like right into like plot stuff, which I feel like in a show, because there's only 6 episodes, right, total?
Yeah, so we only got 4 more.
Yeah, so I feel like originally I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of surprised that we're getting right into it, but then I thought about that again. I'm like, well, I guess you don't really have time to mess around when you're so restricted to just 6 episodes. And overall, I thought the pacing of everything was really, really good. Without getting into spoilers, I was really happy from what I saw in this episode, and it just got me really excited moving forward. And I gotta say though, when I finished episode 1, I'm like, man, I'm so happy I don't have to wait a week to watch this. So that was a benefit of completely passing out halfway through last week's episode.
Now you have to wait a week though now.
Yeah, I know. It's I guess I was happy on that one instant.
I get that it's timey or whatever, missed time from the show. I think we're gonna get a new background. Miss Minute, that red is just like
I didn't even see her actually. I just thought
I know
her
you
nose is right in the middle of the screen.
Yeah,
creeping in.
Taylor, what did you think about episode 2?
I thought it was definitely a step up from the first episode. I'm just gonna keep going back to it, and I know like the heart of the score really just pops in the credits, but the score is so good. The theme is my favorite so far out of these Marvel shows. I love it with a passion. I'm gonna listen to it on Spotify tomorrow when I'm at work. But the show though, it's getting into right into some hearty content that I was not expecting, and yeah, it's full of surprises. There was a few things that we got to encounter that I didn't think that we would get in this episode so quickly, at least. And sure enough, they did it. So I'm glad, because I think that the timing was definitely right. I just wasn't expecting it. And now that we got these things, it's great, because 4 episodes left. I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do with it. And there were a few side turns that just kind of I didn't expect as well, not just on certain revelations, but on certain character developments, I guess you could say. So yeah, overall I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I really like the episode too. I still think I prefer episode 1 just because I like some of the character stuff more, but this one definitely had bigger moments. I was surprised by the back half of the episode. I think it's like what we just talked about. There is only 4 left, but it's very funny where obviously that one had 9 episodes. With WandaVision, it was such a slow burn. And it was like, oh, we're taking our time to get to things. Like, who's this? What's that? But this show's really like last week it introduced a bunch of things. And already this week it's like, okay, here's the answer to that. Here's the answer to that. Here's the answer to that. So I like that. That's intriguing. I think it left us in a very open realm. We'll talk about spoilers, like, hey, where are we going to go next? And I think next week is going to be, I won't say bonkers, but I think going to be lots of fun. I continue to like the Loki Mobius, like back and forth and everything like that, because they kind of both have moments of, I don't know, getting the upper hand on one another, right? When you think Loki might have figured something out and a way to mess with him, he's like, no, this isn't the case. And he's pretty smart, and obviously he's smart because he's seen Loki's life throughout multiple times. So he kind of knows his tricks, but then Loki still in his, we talked about when we did Journey into Mystery, this episode is the most he's like Jack Sparrow, like the way he's like making things up and saying things, but I won't go into too much more details. Either way, I liked it. I think it was a really good addition. I'm very interested to see where it goes next week. Not that I'm worried about the show, but like, I think these next few episodes now got to it's that expression, they opened the Pandora's box now, so what's gonna, like, I'll wait till spoilers. I just think now with certain things they've shown, it's like, okay, you're expecting a big step up now, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. So, and usually they do. The finales have been, people have said weaker, but like I liked the fucking Winter Soldier one. This isn't the finale, but I'll stop talking and wait until spoilers, because I just feel like I'm walking over words. So anything else to say non-spoilers?
Nope.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our first ad break, and then we'll be right back, and we're going to get into what I was jumping around. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So if you haven't seen the show, I don't know why you're still here. What I was trying to say is, I'm going to start right at the end there. So there's 2 big reveals, and the one big reveal is obviously our evil Loki, we'll just call him that, is she, which we'll talk about that after too, but she's kept all these like time resetters and whatnot to, I guess, as they quote unquote said, bomb the sacred timeline, which was a great visual to see, like this line. And like throughout the show so far, it's just shown like 1 line or 2 lines. So it's like, oh, it's pretty manageable. But this was just like multiple, like almost a dozen of like splinters and stuff like that. And looked like the splinters almost were splintering off. So it's like, it's going to be a mess. Obviously, I don't know how that can be fixed. I don't know, because we did this with WandaVision. So I don't want to just be like, oh, this is how we get Toby and Tom and Multiverse Madness. But if this doesn't get fixed in the show, that would make sense of why this is how we get to that point,
Yeah, no, I was thinking before even seeing this episode, I was having those thoughts in episode 1. I haven't listened to your guys' review because, like I said, I just watched the episode before this one.
Cut the feed.
So I don't want to spoil myself, but so I wasn't sure if you talked about it, but like as soon as they brought up like I think it was like the Miss Minutes little like video of talking about like how the multiverse war, whatever. I'm like, okay, well, obviously something's gonna happen with Loki here that causes this multiverse, because I feel like he doesn't want to just be a peon to the TVA, and so that was just my feelings in episode 1, and then obviously just by the end of this episode, it seems like we're already getting into that. That's why I was pretty shocked on just how fast we're moving with the show.
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't think it's incredibly messy. I feel like I would have liked seeing more of geez, what's Owen Wilson's character? Mobius.
Morbius.
Big crossover.
Yeah. That's the strain that's gonna happen. He's gonna turn into Jared Leto.
So yeah, I really like those two, just like back and forth, like you were mentioning, Travis. They just have good on-screen chemistry, and they're funny together. I do want more of that, but at the same time, I do wanted to. I want to eventually get to the point where I'm seeing Toby or something, just break through the multiverse wall, and
in this show.
No, but like a direct result
expectations. Yeah.
What
if that would have been the variant Loki? Took off hood and was Toby with the little crown.
But then I'm not getting him in No Way Home.
So no, you get them both. He gets played.
If I get them both, I'll be
every
happy.
MCU variant is just Tobey Maguire playing. Like, can you imagine a Tony Stark being played by Tobey Maguire?
They take off the hood. It's just Toby with the horns. He's like,
yeah.
Loki. Oh,
yeah.
That would have been amazing.
Toby as Hulk.
I was quickly going to mention though on the topic of Mobius, I felt like I was a little put off on how in this episode it seemed like he was just kind of running around with this chicken with his head cut off at some points, when really this guy should, like, his only purpose on why he's made was supposedly by the timekeepers. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I feel like he's made by the timekeepers to do this one task. He's clearly studied Loki like millions of times throughout his life, but he's still just like feels like he's just like a cop at the end of the day. I feel like a lot of the TVA like crew, I feel like they should be all knowing, like just defenders of time basically, and for me they seem a little weak for what they should be. I don't know if there's a reason for that. I don't know if you guys discussed.
I don't think they're alive. I think I don't think they're in existence. I think one of them is probably doing his own thing, but I think there's more to that because again, you have Owen Wilson who's never seen them. You have the main leader chick who is alluding to that she knows what is up with them, but I don't fully trust her or what her intentions are. It's just one of those scenarios. Like I think it's like the Oz Great and Powerful. Like, oh, here's the Wizard of Oz, but really no one has really seen him like in the flesh. So I think there's more to that.
There's 3 of them.
I know. I don't think that everything is all that it seems with them. I think that they've been gone a long time or something happened. So
yeah.
As for the I just want to nitpick on the reset bombs or whatever they were called. I can't remember. For reset the timelines last week, me and Travis, we had thought that okay, it just erases that whole timeline completely. Now we know it just heals it to the main timeline. It doesn't actually reset and kill everyone off in that timeline. So it just kind of heals it, right? Because we saw the branch line go back into the main timeline.
Yeah, I didn't think it was killing everybody. I just still, and obviously this show might bring it up. My point last week, Kirklin, was when I was talking about the multiverse and stuff, I was like, well, I don't really like that if there's a variant like Loki, which you can just throw like a little bomb and it's just fixed. Because I'm like, that kind of feels like I lose the consequences then of caring about like, how do we get the show What If and how do we get all this stuff? But clearly that's what's happening now. I don't know, like, so what has she done? Has she taken these bombs and like reversed them? Is that what they are? Because obviously you wouldn't be resetting it, because if you're just throwing them random places, resetting it, it would just.
She's detonate. Like when you detonate it, you're detonating it in a spot that has deferred from the main timeline. So she's detonating in spots that haven't deferred. So it's just creating all of a sudden these rifts. Is how I take it.
So those bombs, to my understanding, I thought it was just like an area, not the entire timeline that it's in. Am I mistaken on that?
No, I think it's the entire timeline. I guess.
You think it's the entire timeline?
I imagine. I
feel like they have to like strategically put them somewhere. They're like, okay, place it there, and then it'll purge the spot.
And how come, like, Taylor, you're saying like she drops these bombs and it makes things chaos, but like that's not what these bombs do. They don't make things chaos. They fix everything.
No, they fix everything that's been chaos already. So like again, if I all of a sudden take a left when I'm supposed to go right with the flow of time, that's how it's supposed to go, but I go left, you drop a bomb there, it heals it so that I go and take that right turn. Now if I take the right turn anyways and I'm just going through time like I'm supposed to, but you still drop one of those reset bombs in the regular flow of time when there's no need for it and nothing for it to heal, then you're creating a problem, because what it's going to reset is just going to break something off, branch off from the main flow of time that's supposed to be right. That's how I took it.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, I'm just gonna go with it because it's just like a thing. But I brought this up last week. I do worry about some of this stuff and some of the rules they've laid out as far as like, okay, I hope it makes more sense later on. But at the end of the day, it gets us to where we're going as far as that. I don't know if I agree on that theory about the timekeepers. I guess the only reason why I don't agree is because there is this theory going around that one of the timekeepers looks exactly like Kang, and Kang has been cast in Ant-Man. The main, I can't remember her character name, but the woman who is like the main head, she is a lover or slash former lover of Kang. Kang's a time traveler, so that's why those time, you might be right, something funky might be going on with them, but I don't know if it's a Wizard of Oz situation. I think they're somewhere away, but yeah, we haven't met them yet, and Loki wants to meet them, so I think that will be resolved by the time the show ends. Not that problem, but at least we'll get that question, or we'll get that answer of like if they're real or not, which I think they are in some light. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then just getting back to the reset bombs. Is that the name of them? I'm going with reset bombs. Sounds right.
We'll use reset nukes, I think is the preferred term.
So there you go.
Coming in this, I obviously thought that they did something else because I thought they were just kind of like a proximity thing. So going into what the show ended off with female Loki just like popping the bombs everywhere. And for me, I thought they just kind of like resetted the timeline to what it should be. So I don't know what kind of chaos could be caused by just popping them in random spots. So, like Travis, I'm just gonna go with it, and hopefully it gets answered in the next coming up episodes.
Or there'll be some how-to, or some YouTube video. Like, okay,
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
But yeah, I don't
break it down.
I just don't, because I just feel like it's supposed to. I'll bring this last point up because I don't want to be Jessica time travel, but I feel like it's supposed to reset the timeline to the sacred timeline, right? So I would feel like just dropping all these bombs would just make things just
good.
The exact same. Yeah, like they wouldn't do anything. So like I like unless there's a way she like reverse engineered them, then I could believe that. Like, oh yeah. And maybe that's what she did. But to me, as far as the rules with these bombs, like, oh, they fix it. I don't think it would be like, oh, well, you make a left. Well, if you drop that bomb here, it makes it turn right. They didn't say any of that. They've not established those rules. So
I'm not saying I'm right. It's purely speculation.
That's fair. And I imagine it's going to be she tampered with them. And then
they showed her like rewiring them. I wasn't sure if that was just like setting up the doors to like auto transport them, or if it was actually something reversing it, because I thought it was doing the same thing though, because it changed the same color, right? I think it goes purple when they activate it and then it resets, and that's what the color it looked like when they were.
I think so, but if I put like a dash of poison in your ketchup, it's probably still red, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's probably still
ketchup. Yeah, that's the problem. So and I'm wondering now. So she got these like last one we saw where they were like, oh yeah, someone time travel here makes some money, and she took that reset. So is it? I'm wondering. Well, I guess because then the TVA would come there and reset properly. What I'm guessing is she's dropping them in all these locations that whatever they fixed is getting unfixed. So, like technically, if they fixed like our Loki when he came from New York, she unfixed that and just went boom. And that's what I was gonna say. Like, do you guys have any theories of why she would want to do this? Why she would want to cause chaos? Other than I hope. It's not just, well, she's Loki and she god of mischief. Like I don't want it to be as something simple as that. I hope there's some sort of reason, even if she's saying that like, and maybe what I'm hoping the same thing we've seen Loki is like, hey, like these guys shouldn't be messing with time. Like they have no right to do what they're doing. I hope it's that slant instead of just like, I'm here to have fun.
Yeah, I hope it's that way, and I think it will be actually, just from like the dialogue that our Loki was interacting with, just like the different like bodies that they were possessing. I like that, how it was just like prolonging the reveal and just like switching bodies. I thought that was a fun sequence, but I also just the way that she was talking about how like she has her own plans, like she has no use for the timekeepers or whatnot, and I feel like even just like what like our Loki was talking about regarding the timekeepers and how he does have his own plans, and like I don't know, I feel like maybe their I don't know, their point of views, the female Loki and our Loki, like they might be similar, or maybe there'll be a reason why she feels so strongly. I don't know. I'm just hoping for more information. To answer your question, I don't have any theories, but I definitely hope that it's not just, oh, I'm just the god of mischief and this is what I do. And I don't think that they would do that. I feel like that's pretty
No.
cheap, and I feel like I trust Marvel enough to not just lean that route.
Yeah, but I keep bringing this up to Taylor. We did, and I don't care if people, whatever they say, we did also get Ralph Boner in this same year. So you know what? I
True.
trust them, but at the same time, there's still a boner here and there. Amir, yes, it's good to see you, sir. Taylor, what about you? Why do you think Lady Loki, and then after I want to talk about Lady Loki, but why do you think she's doing what she's doing? Now we know the plot of, and it's funny because I thought we were going to get revealed like whatever the main plot would be, and then the show would be about stopping that. And it's not necessarily that, because we found out like she wants to bomb the sacred timeline, and then she just did it. There was no like, I thought that's how I was caught off guard, and I liked that. I thought that was gonna be the cliffhanger of this episode. Then would be like, we got an hour to stop it, and then they stop it. But like the fact it just popped off, I hope by the end of this show it's not just an easy fix. The good thing is the guy that's writing this is the same guy that wrote Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So I feel like that's an on-purpose thing if there is some sort of, and you probably saw it last week, Kirklin, but I brought this up in the review, that when they had that Miss Minutes video, they literally had the word multiverse and then Miss Minutes says madness at the same time. So I do feel like this is going to connect more than what WandaVision did, where it's just like, okay, Wanda is somehow going to get... So are we to think that when, and I'll throw to you, are we to think that when she threw one of those bombs that maybe that's how Wanda's kids got back? Because remember, WandaVision ends, loses vision, loses the kids, and at that point we go, how could the kids be back if they're kind of made up,
I was going to make the point, because I wanted to actually go back and like pause when the bombs do go off and she's just bombing everywhere, because it actually shows like locations when they're on like the screen.
Yeah, and I want to find 2002 New York real bad.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious at what kind of Easter eggs it's showing there, or maybe just stuff that might be coming out.
Some YouTuber will do it for us tomorrow. Exactly. We'll wake up and they'll be like, every day.
People that don't work in a couple hours.
Yeah, the people that got this as a job. Yeah, but Taylor, what do you take about the main plot? Like I said, is that maybe how Wanda's kids have maybe factored back into this? Because like I said, we don't really know how they're back. I don't know what that has to do with time and correcting things, but
I got a loose little traveler up here. Oh, look at that guy.
Alfalfa.
Ooh,
just so you know, he's talking about his hair, because the audio listeners would have no fucking clue.
I was talking about my penis, actually.
Got a loose little travel here. That's great that it's loose.
No, I just touch upon the 2012 New York scene that you mentioned. I feel like that's going to be the start of episode 3. I really do. I think he's going to come out of the portal and he's going to be like, whoa, because I think it would time out well with how you're right. The kids would come back because of what's going on. So things that were meant to be wrapped up in the normal timeline are going to be opposite. So the kids are going to come back. New York is going to show destroyed as the Avengers lost. And then we're going to see that as what Loki sees. So I think that's how they're going to kickstart it. And
I thought you were saying we were going to start again with 2012 Loki, like the back at episode 1. So I'm like, you're telling me we're going to have
the
evil
whole
Loki.
Avengers fight scene all over again.
You're telling me we're going to have evil Loki. We're going to have our Loki. And then we're going to have the 2012 Loki again, just hanging out. You're saying our Loki will get back to that timeline to see what happened?
Well, remember in the trailer you see him walking on like the dirt and you see destroyed New York behind. I think that's where he's going to walk out of the portal in episode 3 at the start.
Well, I wonder, like, to track this and not to get us too off the beaten path, but if they lose the Tesseract, why? So like, what is the events of Age of Ultron? Like, because technically they use that scepter to help create Ultron, right? Don't they? Isn't so like technically with like, I'm trying to think about how, maybe this is a different podcast, but like, and that's fine if they just go to New York and they're just like they lost, and that's fine. But I'm just trying to think about like what point of the timeline, and I'm not saying they'd be wrong, but what point of the timeline did they need that Tesseract and it made them lose? You know, and maybe they would explain that. That is an interesting thing, but I'm trying to think about, because that just gets in a whole other obviously strain of time where again his mother might be alive, all this stuff, which can be fun, and I want to explore that stuff. So
yeah, like I am curious as to like the importance of the Tesseract as well as like the time shifting, because it, like, looking back, I don't think like the forces of good really ever use it, right? It's pretty much just the bad guys using the Tesseract.
Not to the end. Like they use, like, in a way they help, because that what made Ultron, they use that to make Vision. But like at the same time, it's like, well, you didn't make Ultron, so like that's a double negative. Like
yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't need Vision if there's no Ultron. And then I guess the only time is like at the very end when they have like Tony's glove, right? And they got to snap everyone back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if like the Tesseract's missing. What's going on with Thanos? And that is the fun thing. But that's what I was talking about in non-spoilers of, I'm not expecting them to venture and explore all these timelines and do all these things. I think that's what they're kind of saving Spider-Man and Loki for. And that's why people's theory about the Spider-Man trailer being after Loki or very close to the end of Loki makes sense. But I do think that once they got to show us a few alternate timelines, because once you show it's episode 2 and you show a bunch of strains, if we don't really go to any and the rest of the show is just kind of him trying to get Lady Loki, it could still be good, but you might feel a little cheated if it's like, well, we didn't. And I think we already are, because we have that image of Loki as president, right? So it's like, clearly we probably will, but I'm just saying, doubling down as far as I hope we get that. So you think, Taylor, that's what we get next week, is our Loki going back to the 2012 timeline and seeing what happened?
I'm thinking so. That's my suspicion. But in terms of Lady Loki, I couldn't tell you what I think her justification is, what she warrants her interactions, what she's doing. I have no idea. I hope they don't go that route. Like, I'm got a mischief, wanted to just be mischievous and stuff, because that would be a cop out.
I love chaos.
Yeah, I would hope that there's some larger thing at play. It sounds like she said she didn't care about the TVA like regular Loki did, but at that being said, then I feel like they kind of like, I don't know, like she must know if she destroys the TVA, I guess we don't know the result. If she destroys the TVA, does it destroy the natural flow of this regular space time? Or if she destroys it, does it just allow for variants to see each other and come across each other? And it's just like, is it lowering like a fence and taking the fence down that allows everyone to not see each other under normal circumstances?
I think if they destroy the TVA, it just goes into chaos, and then that's what'll lead to like a multiverse war, right?
So she wants chaos so that she can maybe collect a bunch of Lokis to lead, or collect, like, maybe she wants an army or something.
The army of Lokis.
No,
would all be like stabbing each other in the back, though.
I think it's more unless you were, it's the worst army ever. What would you do, Taylor, if we got an exact same scene of like Pirates of the Caribbean 3 when it's Jack Sparrow on the ship with a bunch of Jack Sparrows, but it's Tom Hiddleston with a bunch of Tom Hiddlestons and Lokis? When they were showing off those variations, and it was like the big like orc version and stuff, and his face was good, and they showed him like the band one. Like Hiddleston's killing it. I don't even think I talked about that last week, because it's just like he's just there and he just does. Like you expect him just to be good. So it's like, just to shout it out, it's like, well, I've been shouting this out since 2011 that he's been great, but he's still great, and he like his comedic timing is really good. He gets to like stretch a different muscle in this series.
I definitely feel like it's just taken up a notch, though. Like I always liked him as Loki, as the character, but in this, especially in those moments that you get in episode 1 where it's like more emotional, more character stuff, and then you have like another version when he's just interacting with Mobius, and he's just like kind of cracking jokes, or maybe he just like Mobius is like getting on his nerves, so he's just like kind of showing a little frustration, and like it's just like in his face. Like, I feel like that's an underappreciated thing, to just like, when he's not saying anything, he's still like just doing such a good job of portraying the character, and it's definitely just been turned up on like multiple notches for this show. It's perfect time to show it. It's like Elizabeth Olsen with Wanda, right? Like that was her time to just showcase what she can do with that character, and Tom Hiddleston's doing the same thing. And I absolutely love his performance. He's you need someone like that to lead a show like that, right? Same. I mean, we were talking about it on WandaVision. Now we're talking about Loki. So just great star of a show to have.
Oh yeah, I loved the very first like crime scene they went to, and he's like, "You can't leave this tent, and you'll be killed." And that was very Jack Sparrow-ish, where he was just making up this whole story and this whole scenario, and then Owen Wilson was like, "Nah, he's lying." Like, "Oh, you almost
like
got
that pause." That pause where it's like, "Okay, is he telling the truth?" Even like the viewer is like, "Oh, damn, he's telling the truth." No.
Yeah. I'm going to take another ad break, and then I'm going to tell you about my least favorite thing about the Lady Loki reveal. So we'll be right back. So 2 things. 1, this will all go away as far as the next few weeks. See how she does. This is just such a minor thing. People are going to call shit on me because whatever, but they're going to be like, I don't care. I just felt like the few lines we got from her, so far, just not a fan of the acting. I just thought like it was very like wooden, but that's okay. That could change. One thing I didn't like though, especially we live in Hollywood, fake wigs, everything like that. I don't fucking like her rocking blonde hair. I feel like she should
Oh,
be
I love
rocking.
it. I'm a sucker for blonde hair.
Yeah, but she's supposed to be the female version of Loki. Like she should
Yeah.
have the same hair
Okay,
as him.
Mr. Oh, okay. You can't comment on that, Mister. They can't change, or they can get away changing superheroes' hair. Didn't we have a whole debate about that? How you're freaking out at the fans in a
No, but that's different.
comment
If they were to
section?
say like, "Hey, we are casting a new like the first iteration of a character," but I just feel like for continuity's sake, if this Loki has black hair and this is supposed to be like the female equivalent, like a gender swap, however it happens, which I don't know. Like I said, does that mean Thor is going to be a female too? Which I kind of hope. I kind of hope they go to an MCU where it's like Black Widow's a dude and Iron Man and Cap are women. Like that'd be so fucking good if it was just everybody's gender swap. But like, no, I don't know. It's just a little preference thing. I just wish she had, because I guess for me, it was the lines I didn't like. But then when she takes off the hood and she has the blonde hair, I just right away feel like, oh, it's an actor.
You shut the TV off.
Yeah, I did. I didn't even get to the sacred timeline. I had to look it up online. No, I just feel like, oh, it's an actor. Like we couldn't dye her hair for some reason. And maybe I'm wrong. It's just, I don't know. It's just a little aesthetic thing that I wish she had the black hair. Because then to me, I feel like it'd be like seeing that mirror, but seeing like a little bit of verse. Like,
Yeah.
this just looked like, oh, it's just a woman. Like it's just a chick with a Loki crown. Like I didn't get the sense of like, shit, this is female Loki.
I feel like
and,
this tiptoes very close to the whole debate you got in with that other person in the comments about the hair color of a superhero.
No, because that would have been like if they cast Loki originally way back in the day of Tom Hiddleston, he was blonde, then great, he's blonde. I'm saying this version because it's a continuity version. I'm not saying like the whole like race bend thing and stuff like that. I'm just saying like it'd be great to you're literally in this universe, you've established what Loki looks like. It's different with Superman coming up with Supergirl, right? In the Flash movie, we've never had a Supergirl in the movie. So you can say this Supergirl is Latino and she has black hair. Okay, that's the way she is. There wasn't anything. It would kind of be like, this is 100% the way it would be if they had Henry Cavill's Superman and then the next movie he was black. It would not make sense at all, barring some like multiverse stuff, right? This is the thing of like, if you say the next Superman movie, we're casting a black guy, that works. But if it's Henry Cavill and then the next movie he's black and you just go, wait a second, like he was just white a second
same
ago.
as like you got big ogre goblin looking Loki and stuff like that.
He's
It's
still
like,
black hair.
Yeah,
He's still black hair as the
He's still
goblin
black
though.
hair,
Yeah, so like all these versions. So we'll see. I don't know about hair color. She looked cool, and that's good. Cedric Ross. I was not sold on it all. Like the crown was all right, and like I said, I just think her acting was kind of wooden, and that's the problem. We even brought this up with WandaVision, especially with what the fuck was that agent's name? The Shield agent that sucked. You remember he was bad. His name like Hansen or whatever.
It was like
and
Tyler or something.
yeah. So like that's always my worry is that like they get like really good main actors like Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, but then like the side characters and like that one, the villain, they kind of get some
They
actors
ran out of budget.
100% they ran, but like we had that with Falcon Winter Soldier, a couple characters that were like, I don't know. So I hope she's up to snuff. I'm just judging off of this, but I just felt like for a moment that I was like, I felt like was supposed to the sacred timeline thing hit me, but for the reveal, it just didn't hit me for the look of it because it looked just a little Walmart-ish, and then like the presence, she didn't have like that. Like Tom Hiddleston has a presence that even when he's not talking, you can feel something there. Where this just looked like a dude or a chick wearing a crown, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I
feel like I agree with you to an extent. Like for the reveal of her, I was actually really hyped because when we did our Kid Loki comic book versions episode, they had like a female Loki in there, and I was expressing like, oh, that'd be so cool to see a female Loki on there. So I immediately just thought of that when it was a female. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so hype. But honestly, I can't even really remember what she looks like. And I like just watched the episode because it's just like a forgettable reveal. I don't even remember what her lines were. I think I was just more hyped to get like a female interpretation of the character. But no, I definitely agree with you. I don't think her lines were memorable. I feel like if she was just, I don't know. I don't even know what you would replace. Maybe your fix would do it for me, and maybe in the next coming episodes, I'm just gonna fall in love with her.
I hope so.
And
yeah,
And yeah, I do hope so, because
And I hope we get the time to, because I worry if it's like chasing her, we don't spend much time with her, then it just feels like kind of a gimmick and stuff.
and he just
Amar
like kills her at the end or something. Like that would just be
yeah,
so lame.
fucks her then kills her. Taylor, would you fuck yourself? Would you fuck your female self? It's the same as
Fuck me.
masturbating, right? It's the same.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
I don't know what a
the
female
lotion
version of
in the
myself
basket.
would do. I don't know. I wouldn't trust them.
I just asked you. I didn't mean Loki.
No, I that's what I meant. I wouldn't trust a female version of myself.
That's scary. I'd be all up in myself there. Amir says, the guy that had the lantern last week was part of episode 1 was old Loki or female Loki. There's been rumors of like an old Loki. I think that was female Loki. I think everything we've seen so far of the hooded Loki is female Loki. I do, Lady Loki. I just think because it'd be weird to be like, yeah, all of it was Lady Loki, except for that one time in the barn. That was a different Loki. We could get to that point, but I just think that was to set up, okay, now this is, she's been getting these reset bombs. Here she is. This is what she's doing. I think we can meet other Lokis, as we just talked about. That President Loki thing does happen.
The ogre one.
The ogre, they don't have the budget in this show, I don't think. Maybe in Multiverse of Madness, but he was looking pretty haggard, not gonna lie. But I think we could meet other Lokis, but I don't know if they are. I don't think they're any ones we've seen so far. All in the game says they're shown sitting down, actually talking one in the trailers. That's assumed all in the game. That's assumed they're shown. But yeah, there is things in the comics like the Council of Lokis. I think we are going to get weird. Like I said, I want to get weird. I want that to happen. But at the same point, the reason why I always go, oh, wait a second. The second we saw Evan Peters, we were like, oh, look, this is it. This explains the multiverse. This is how it happens, right? And then he was just a boner. So that's why I think it's likely the show's going to go through all these strands, and you're going to meet other Lokis and maybe other versions. Like I said, let's meet a female Thor. That'd be awesome. But I do want to just keep my expectations to, okay, he's just going to chase Lady Loki and that's it. That's all I want to do. So then when these hype moments happen, I can be more hyped instead of just like getting overhyped and thinking like, oh, all this shit we can get and all these places he's going. Like, I want to keep it as small as possible in my mind because, the boner of it all is always tough. So what else was there to talk about? I think you brought up Kirklin. I'll shout before I forget. Yeah, I liked when him like taking over other people's bodies, and I liked him explain the differences of his powers when they thought it was the exact same thing.
Yeah.
He's like, well, actually, it's this versus this. So,
but you should know that because you're the TVA and you know it.
Yeah. and I guess they didn't, but I liked the whole ending thing back and forth, and it was good. And I like that now Owen Wilson probably feels like he can't trust that Loki because that Loki. Why do you think he went through that portal? Just to chase Lady Loki, or like
just because he wants to know? I feel like at the end of the day he can't even trust the TVA, so he realizes. I mean, he's always been on his own team, but I feel like he just realizes that I gotta turn this situation to my advantage.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you and Taylor. When he was talking to Lady Loki when she was possessing the bodies about how he wants to take over the TVA and needs a lieutenant, was that a bluff or is that something he actually wants? Because me and Taylor talked about that last week, where I feel at some point Loki, and maybe he already has, but would be like, you know what? I want this power because like I could do a lot of shit. I could do a lot of messed up stuff with it to his benefit. So
yeah, it's interesting. I had some sort of thoughts or just like speculation of what his motives might be while I was watching episode 1, because there is a lot of personal stuff. There's almost like it seems like he's just having like a resolution with himself, like, oh, maybe I will be a hero. And he doesn't say that, but like you're just getting the feelings of
that was the post-credit scene. Him just looking in the mirror.
And then like especially when they're throwing out things like, oh, you're meant to just be reset, and the only way that you won't be is if you're a good guy and all that. So as I'm watching it, it's like is he actually just gonna smash the timeline, and then this leads to the multiverse of madness, but also this is how we get like he's always been an anti-hero but more of a hero anti-hero Loki, and then in this one obviously he just came out and said that he wants to take control of the TVA, but that's also could just be him trying to get close to female Loki and whispering things that he would want to hear himself. I that's just such a fun dynamic. Like, although it is a female version of yourself, like you're still chasing yourself. So, I just love that situation that he's in. But getting back to just our Loki's motivations, I feel like he says that's what he wants, but he still doesn't really know what he wants at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Well, and that's why I like that. There's that moment in the episode where he finds the case files about Ragnarok and he sees how many people died.
Yeah,
And he starts to
getting
be
sad
upset.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's getting sad. But then when Owen Wilson brings it up, he's like, "Oh, sorry about that." He's like, "Oh yeah, whatever." So he acts like that. So that's why, I think maybe at some point he might want to take over the TVA, but I think his real motivations are wanting to do something good for the first time. But he's not going to make it seem like that on the outside. But I agree with you. That dynamic of him having to chase himself is very fun, and already I think that's been very fun. Like him looking at the crime scenes, it's very different, but it reminds me a lot of Hannibal, where like Will could get in the mind of a killer. So
Yeah.
it's like he wasn't Hannibal, but he could think exactly like Hannibal would, and that's what Loki's doing right now. So I think that has lots of potential down if they do more of it.
That like cop dynamic that you were mentioning, kind of like Hannibal S. I think it was during the first episode. I really liked how, like, those moments, it just felt like a cop show. But when they're talking about like, oh my, like the higher ups are on my ass, it's like it's not just your boss, like it's literally the timekeepers, or from what they're saying. So it's funny just the scale of it all, when really on screen it's just like another cop TV show type thing, right? Obviously you have your MCU magic and stuff mixed in there, but it's just a fun aspect.
Yeah. What about you, Taylor? What do you think Loki's motivations are at this point in the series?
Yeah, that is extremely tough. I mean, this whole episode just proved that I feel like even he doesn't even know. I mean, the only thing that is for sure certain is he wants to see the timekeepers because they have the ultimate power.
Yeah.
That is the only thing I can deduce. Other than that, I could not tell you, because his emotions even seem to be kind of all over the place. Yeah, he's crying when it comes to seeing what he's done. 9,000 Asgardians dead, Asgard's destroyed, everything along those lines. And yet he just brushes it off, which again would fit with his character because, show no weakness to other people, I suppose. But yeah, it's tricky. It's yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like, again, he's going after Lady Loki because he senses, okay, she's found a way to undermine the TVA and get access to the timekeepers, perhaps. If the timekeepers are indeed really there, and that's not some kind of Geek, Wizard of Oz scenario, but
there's double downing on it.
I do feel like it's a Wizard of Oz scenario. I feel like it would fit with the theme of the show. It just, I feel like it would jive, but we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what his motivations are. Like I said, maybe he's just trying to date himself, be happy. He'd know everything he'd want, he'd know the problems.
You're so set on this. This is like a previous Travis fantasy.
No, it's definitely something of like other content has talked about and stuff, and it is just funny when you're presented with that situation. It's like, yeah, well, you know everything about each other, but it's like what the deal is. What do you guys have? Do you guys have anything else to shout out from this episode? I don't think I have anything too big that we haven't talked about, but
I love this recurring character that showed up in Mandalorian. I don't know his name,
Casey in this show.
Yeah, Casey in the show. He
took the job. Go check out our Mandalorian commentary tracks to understand our love for him.
Because I have those like inside jokes like in my head. That's why it's funny. But just when he's on screen and his one little liners that he goes off, like it always gets me. And like I wasn't expecting to see him again in this episode, and then he steals his juice when he's doing like the metaphor and just absolutely destroying Owen Wilson's salad. There's one point he's like talking to him. He's not even doing the metaphor anymore, and he's just like salt and peppering the salad. It looked hilarious.
I did like that explanation of why someone like how they're hiding in a timeline is they're hiding right before an apocalypse, because that's going to be destroyed. So whatever happens there doesn't matter. I think that would kind of stretch, because what happened if you went there and like took the gauntlet glove and took a snap and so it's like I don't think anything could happen there, and they'd be like, oh, it's fine. But I get what they're going for, and I thought that was clever,
Yeah, totally. I really, really like the moment too when they're like, all right, we got the squad, we're going on our mission, let's go. Okay, we're so hyped. Okay. And then Owen Wilson gives him his blades, and he's just like, oh, finally. And like less than like 2 seconds of having them in his hand, I forget her name, but the commander, she just like takes them away from him. It's like, oh, so close. But it's just a fun moment.
I feel like she has to be on the bubble for her job. She let him go last week. This week she's gonna take over. I know it's not her fault because Lady Loki and stuff, but still, it's
I just feel like all the TVA crews, like they just like at the end of the day, they're just like those lackeys that the bad guys just take down so easily, and I'm just not convinced that they're these. What does Loki call them? Like the greatest power in the universe. Like I'm just
Yeah.
not buying that yet.
Well, I
from
don't
what
know
I've
if he
seen of
thinks
it.
they are. I think he thinks the timekeepers are, and these people
Yeah.
just happen to be the workers. You know, like it's like
Yeah.
you are the timekeepers are the president, and this is just the cabinet or just some public speakers and stuff like that. So
True, but I still feel like the resources that they have, the fact that they're basically just mortals, they can just watch people's lives millions of times, just completely understand every decision they have, and they're still just being like dumbfounded by,
yeah,
he's got a
I
mission.
don't.
But at the
I
end
don't
of
think you're wrong. Yeah, and the only one I did like as far as giving Mobius some character was when the TVA showed up to wherever it was that apocalypse event was going to happen, and that one guy was being like really scary and threatening them, and Owen Wilson was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, like, don't do that." He's like, "Oh, he's like, they're gonna die." So and then
right.
whoever the shitty cop was like, "Yeah, well, they should be scared." And he's like, "Yeah, but not of us." So I like that. It seems like maybe the department's lost their way or doesn't really care about people because they are non-existent. They are gonna die. But I like the Owen Wilson's like it doesn't matter what these people are.
Yeah.
It's like we still gotta treat them like people. So
No,
I like that little or like the little fold in his character.
that's a good point too, because like that moment where it seems like he's kind of not fully on like the tyrannical TVA like side, where it's just like there's the task and all these
Yeah.
people don't matter because they're gonna die anyways. Because he's showing some humanity there, but also when Loki is asking him like, "Do you believe in all this? Like, why? Like, what's the purpose of all that?" And like he really does. Like he's like, "I was born by them." I forget the direct quote, but basically just saying like I totally believe it. So he's a really interesting character, and I'm excited to just dissect him more in the next coming up episodes.
Yeah, and I hope we get more, even if it's Loki just on the chase and everything like that.
Yeah.
What about you, Loki or Taylor? What about you,
about
Loki?
me,
Anything to
Loki?
bring up? Taylor, what about you? You think I'm gonna have another thing right? I was right about Raylo. Years paid off, you know. Lady Loki, male Loki.
You were right about Raylo
Just a
only
sex
because it was
scene
just
on
like
screen.
pure guesstimation.
No, it was not
They didn't even know what
guesstimation.
they were gonna do with that.
It
Final
doesn't matter.
movie.
Yeah, that's Ryan Johnson. That's the way he wrote it.
As far as this though, I thought it was interesting. This is like the second time within the week that I'm pretty sure Marvel has used "I Need a Hero" song. They've doubled down because it was at E3, I think, for the Guardians of the
It
Galaxy
was.
conference. Yeah, so they're all about that song right now.
So you know it's gonna be a Black Widow.
Yeah. But I love that scene where the commander just gets possessed and just like goes toe to toe and just takes out all the agents. I thought that was super cool, and just like how she's fighting, and then Lady Loki's just using the sword and just is like killing. Oh, it was cool. I'm digging Lady Loki. I'm really digging her.
See, and Loki's good too. Taylor already has a crush on Lady Loki.
Mm-hmm. I just gotta put like the little horns on Madison, have her like dress up as Lady Loki for Halloween, then she's good
I think
to go.
that's an after 9 conversation, but
Yeah.
that's all right.
That's a great Halloween idea. I could be Loki and she could be Lady Loki. Oh my god, it's
There you
brilliant.
There you go. You gotta dye your hair black though, you know.
After the wedding.
So yeah, and that's the thing. And me and Emily are probably gonna do Wanda and Vision. So then Kirkland and Shake and do Bucky and Falcon.
Fuck yeah. I'll be Bucky. She can be.
No, you could be Bucky and she could be what the fuck was her name? The part of the Flag Smashers, remember?
Oh yeah, she's redhead.
Yeah. There you go. We got it. A whole
oh my
Marvel
gosh, what is
squad
her
for
name?
Not even
Halloween.
Sharon Carter, just the fucking Flag
No.
Smashers chick.
Well, I thought the hair. You know, it's easy.
Give her a
to-
mask. It's a pretty
yeah.
easy costume
Put
actually.
on this mask. Anything else for this episode? We're all excited for next week.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I am. I want next week to be fucking crazy. I really do. I want.
Are we gonna get an end credit scene at some point?
Not till episode 4. That's my prediction.
That's your prediction.
Or sorry, at 5. Episode 5.
Oh, change
Well,
it up.
WandaVision we got multiple, and then Falcon Winter Soldier we only got one. I think we're gonna get just one. I really do. I think Falcon Winter Soldier was like the route they're gonna go. I think WandaVision had a lot of stuff that they had cut and used in other places, like that Snooper's gonna snoop thing could have easily been in the episode. They just cut to make a finale.
Yeah.
Fucking Ralph Boner. But like that will bug this the way that people are bugged by Iron Man 3 in the Mandarin. Ralph Boner is gonna bug me still for the wound is still fresh. Like it's still, but like I feel like many of those scenes they used were just from the episode. They're like, oh, you could make it as end credit. So Taylor, are you highlighting this because you wanted to address it? I feel like we addressed it last week, Amir, but Taylor can address it again.
Yes, the Infinity Stones do not work in the TVA because it is out of time, and the Infinity Stones only work in. I know we talked about the fact that it works in their universes, but it just works in the universes is how I see it.
It's pretty weak.
It's convoluted.
Yeah, it's pretty, because my point, Kirklin, they're like, well, once you remove the stones from their timeline, they don't work. And it's like, well, that was all of Endgame. They took them all out of
Yeah, but my explanation for that was that you like the quantum realm is basically in between timelines, and you can't use the stones in the quantum realm, so you can use them in timelines though.
Yeah, just like everything that was supposed to happen in Avengers happened, but like it doesn't make any sense. So like, so if everything in Avengers was supposed to happen, Tony and Steve were supposed to go back to the 60s, 70s, right? To go bump into his dad and Hank Pym. But the only reason they go back there is because Loki took the Tesseract from them, so they had to go back. So technically, that would be it was supposed to happen.
Maybe
but no,
Steve
Loki
never went back to Peggy. Maybe he got like reset by the TVA and he just
no. I mean, when they had to go back to get the Tesseract, remember the scene when Tony has with his dad? So if that was supposed to happen, the only reason it happens because Loki took the Tesseract, but they said it was supposed to happen.
Yeah,
I think it was supposed to because that's why we got the show. It's supposed to happen. They're supposed to recruit Loki.
My thing, and yeah, you can always listen back here, but my thing was I just worry with the time travel and some of the rules they've set up that like they're gonna get. It's going to be a little plot holy, and I don't like the potential like, oh, well, this was supposed to happen, because already I feel like there's holes in it, and I don't like when it's like, well, that was supposed to happen, because it's kind of like an answer of, oh, this happened because. It's like, all right, because now I feel like anytime we're like, well, it's not a plot hole, and they just go, well, that was supposed to happen. You go, oh, that's a lazy way of writing it. Like,
no, 100%. I 100% agree with you, because as I was watching the episode, and then they're Loki's like basically blaming the Avengers, like I shouldn't be here, they should be here, they're the ones that went, and they're like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen. And like you just said, like I just didn't like that. At the end of the day, I'll just eat it and move on. But in the moment, I'm like, really? Because even there's some moments between Mobius and Loki, and Loki's like saying like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm a god, I have free choice, I do whatever the hell I want. And he's like, sure, like basically, sure, Jan, like just like drawing, like basically balancing on the line of saying like you don't have free choice, but also it's to the eye of the beholder. Like they're not
100%.
straight answering it. Whereas in those other moments when it's like, oh, the Avengers, yeah, they can do whatever they want because they're the good guys and it's all supposed to happen. It's just like, I don't like that.
Yeah, and I guess on Marvel Lines I talked about like I'm hoping what it is the timekeepers have seen your life, and it's not that they're dictating like, hey, Travis has to take a right. It's just that they know I'm going to take a right because they've seen my story, right? But that's the problem where it does get into like my worry last week, and we'll see, is I just don't want already the Infinity Saga to feel like, oh yeah, like that was just all gonna happen no matter. Like I don't want to feel that, and this is my worry of I don't like godlike huge characters that are bigger than everybody. And if the TVA is real and the timekeepers are real, you start to get in that realm of like, well, same thing with Eternals. It's like, do our heroes matter when there's like gods that are like there's such big things? That's where I was like, I'd rather them keep it to like, I think the scale that the MCU had at the Infinity Saga was perfect. You already had some multiverse, you had time travel. Like, I don't know if we need to get much bigger. We're getting bigger. I do trust them, but again, there's a boner for every trust. So all in the game. So how would you have all written or explained it? Fuck all in the game. That's a long thing. So I'm trying to think. So you come to me and you say, okay, how do we explain this situation? I don't think it's bad as far as saying it's a variant when Loki goes off. I just don't, because then you're asking me like, what do I say what about the Avengers?
Yeah,
maybe you say some sort of line of like, like we're gonna take care of that too, or it's gonna work. Because at the same time, it's like, so yeah, does that technically mean Steve was supposed to fucking leave and just like go to Peggy, like you said, or does he just get arrested? I think all in the game. That's a good question. I think I would need to sit down and more, but obviously I'm saying I don't like that. I think the reason I just don't like this supposed to happen is because, like I said, it feels like a writing crutch when, oh, why did this happen? Because, and you go, oh, okay, I guess that's all it is. So I just wish they had thought of something better. I know that sounds bad from just coming from me as far as that, but I just think it opens up potential holes. But this whole thing, I don't know. It's okay. And here's my last point on it. How would you have explained it? As I just said, I wouldn't have gotten to, I wouldn't have personally went this big. Now, the Marvel and DC have these characters, right? They have these godlike characters. I just don't like that in my stories, so I would have never went this route. I would have kind of avoided it, but they want to do it. I still think, like with Doctor Strange and Wanda, you had already set up a perfect way to do multiverse stuff. Having Loki here is like a cherry on top, but you could easily, the first Doctor Strange talks about a multiverse, so
yeah, exactly. I feel like my issues with them just saying that it's the way that it was supposed to happen is, I just feel like it's putting restrictions on the possibilities of just getting wild and crazy. And from them saying like the Avengers had to succeed, it just, I don't know. I like the idea of being like the timekeepers, whatever you want to call them, like these all know. Maybe, I guess, I don't know if they're all knowing, but these are just super powerful characters. I like them not really having like a moral compass. Like they're just like so neutral. Whereas when they're explaining things like, oh, the Avengers had to do that, maybe that does balance out the universe. But for me, just hearing it, I just feel it's like, oh, okay, well, the good guys just have this huge handicap on their side where these like literal timekeepers are just making sure that they win no matter what. Because I just feel like that takes out some of like the, I don't like what's dangerous about the MCU. It's like, holy shit, Thanos could actually win. No, because the timekeepers all along were going to make sure that the Avengers were going to get, and like, I don't know. I just don't like that.
Well, yeah, and sometimes I just feel like there's too powerful characters. Like I said, I don't like the idea that they could have warped into Endgame, literally took Thanos, put a little necklace on him, and he would have been completely depowered with the Infinity Stones. Like, oh, okay. Like, I get it, because some people go, well, that raises the power of the TVA. Yeah, but sometimes there's just, for me, too much power. Then I go, yeah, but that's too much birthday. You know, it's just, I don't personally like that aspect of the show where it's just like anybody can get a fucking collar on them and it's like game over. It's like, so, all right.
Take that example. The TVA goes and puts the collar on Thanos, and then there's like, and then it goes to the show where they're just like, they just don't seem smart. They're getting like outwitted by, again, God of Mischief. At the same time, like, I don't know. It's just,
but we got more episodes, right? So maybe that'll help. A few last points here. All in the games, that seems obvious to me the show will come down the side of free will and not timekeepers. I agree to the most part, but the fact is they still put it in there as a potential. Loki literally asks as far as, hey, do I have free will? Stuff like that. So I agree with you that I think they're going to do what I said as far as they know, hey, Travis is going to knock on this wall, and he knocks on the wall. And it's not, we're telling him, it's not the timekeepers writing Travis knocks on the wall. They've just seen the story and they know. It's like me telling, if Kirklin goes to see a movie for the first time, but I've seen it, I could tell Kirklin what happens in the movie. I didn't direct that movie. I've just seen it. So that's the way I take it. But they did put it in the show for him to question it. So I think it's valid. And then Amir says, thank you for last question. They said if they didn't pick Tesseract, you go to Asgard prison, but then they didn't catch Captain America, who now maybe they catch Steve. I don't know if I fully answer. I get the Asgard prison of saying, okay, if Loki doesn't get Tesseract, they go to Asgard prison. If you're trying to talk about like why they didn't catch Steve like going out of the timeline, if that's what you're inferring, Amir, maybe it's again, why did he get to go back with Peggy? Oh, well, that was supposed to happen. It's like, okay, I guess. Yeah, like again, to me that feels like a full variant, but I'm sure that's what I mean. You just start to open yourself up to lots of having to explain, because then they might be like, and maybe though he is coming back, so maybe that explains it. So well,
Sorry,
ahead.
one last thing I was
Yeah,
gonna say. When I watched episode 1, and then it goes to the Miss Minute little like breakdown of what the what's it called, like the ultimate timeline or
the sacred
the
timeline.
sacred timeline. I'm like, oh, this is what Jessica needs to watch to just
Yeah.
I don't know, make her happy with all the time traveling stuff that she didn't like.
You would think that, but then this show just even gets
It opens up
fucking
more cans of worms. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I said to Taylor last week. I'm like, this is not the show for her. Like Endgame, I felt completely like I get the time travel, I get what they're going for. Here we go. Where now it's like, oh man, there's a lot of fucking doors you guys open that I don't know. I couldn't explain all these doors to Jessica, but we still got 4 more weeks, so maybe we will. And it's gonna be tied to Doctor Strange and maybe Spider-Man, which we're probably under a month away from that trailer. Man, I just want that trailer so bad. I want to see it. I'm not going to be harassing people, but I just want to see it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with episode 3 spoilers review, and we promise you it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.
Farewell.